But right now we're in Chicago, and as the most expensive presidential election in U.S. history has come to an end, we turn to an issue that impacts more and more people in this country, but was rarely mentioned during the campaign: poverty. The price tag for combined spending by federal candidates, along with their parties and outside groups like super PACs, totaled more than $6 billion. This is especially striking at a time when 1 in 6 Americans is poor, with over 16 million children living in poverty. Poverty rates for blacks and Latinos are twice as high as the rates for whites. There is greater poverty among women than men, and the rate of women living in extreme poverty has reached record highs. But a study released by the media watchdog group FAIR, that's Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting, they revealed that poverty as an issue has been nearly invisible in U.S. media coverage of the 2012 presidential race. It found just 17 of the 10,489 campaign stories studied, that's 0.2%, address poverty in any substantive way. Critics have pointed out that President Obama was viewed as the anti-poverty candidate in 2008, but his re-election bid 4 years later has barely mentioned the poor, even though their numbers have gone up. Well, for more, we're joined by two guests who've worked diligently to get poverty back on the national agenda. Dr. Cornel West is with us, professor of philosophy and Christian practice at Union Theological Seminary in New York and professor emeritus at Princeton University. He's a New York Times bestselling author of numerous books and co-host of the radio show Smiley and West with Tavis Smiley. Together, they've written the new book, The Rich and the Rest of Us, A Poverty Manifesto. Tavis Smiley is a TV, radio, broadcaster, philanthropist, New York Times bestselling author. He hosts the PBS show Tavis Smiley and 2 radio shows, The Tavis Smiley Show on NPR and Smiley and West with Cornel West. We welcome you both back to Democracy Now!
Good to see you, Amy.
It's good to be with you. So we're right here in the president's city. In fact, he just flew out on Wednesday after his re-election. Cornel West, the figures. Who is ahead, who isn't, as your book is titled, The Rich and the Rest of Us?
Well, one, I think that it's morally obscene and spiritually profane to spend $6 billion on elections. $2 billion on a presidential election and not have any serious discussion. Poverty, trade unions being pushed against the wall, dealing with stagnating and declining wages when profits are still up and the 1% are doing very well. No talk about drones dropping bombs on innocent people. So we end up with such a narrow, truncated political discourse as the major problems: ecological catastrophe, climate change, global warming. So it's very sad. I mean, I'm glad there was not a right-wing takeover. But we end up with a Republican, a Rockefeller Republican in blackface with Barack Obama. So that our struggle in regard to poverty intensifies.
That's a pretty rough assessment of President Obama.
Oh, that's what we have. That's what we have. Richard Nixon is to the left of him on health care.